I'm with John Wilson from Haystack off a big award win here at Legal Week. John, tell us a little bit. Who are you? Where are you? And tell us a little bit about your award.
Yeah, so I'm the CISO and president of forensics here at HaystackID. We just won the Cybersecurity and Privacy Technology Innovation Award here at ALM.
Congratulations.
For our Cyber Protect AI solution, where we have an AI solution that helps us identify the PII and all of the privacy concerns and all of the things in the data that need to be identified in order to successfully deal with a cyber breach or a cyber incident and move it forward towards getting notifications out, understanding whose data was compromised and how all of that works. So we're really excited about that. It's been a lot of work and it's been a really fun road.
John, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the award and the technology, you and I have been in this for a little while. You're 30 years in the business. I'm 20 years here at Legal Week. Tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get started? Because this award didn't happen by itself. You've got a lot of experiential knowledge. Walk us through that just a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, so I got into it totally by accident, building data centers and having clients back in the .com days that hard drives fell. They needed to recover data. Started figuring out, how do you recover that data? How do you gain access to the data? How do you figure out who did what? So I could then go and help them in their case at court to present that information, which now is pretty much just being expert work and going to court and presenting a case. But back then I was doing it. There wasn't a field called digital forensics.
Were you building war rooms also at the time?
I was building war rooms. I had a clean room for data recoveries. I actually had created an innovative product for war rooms for legal cases where I was actually going in and backing up the whole war room, all of the computers with all of the efforts that the lawyers were making every night, because it was critical stuff. Mm-hmm. And they made lots of changes and very fast and on the fly. So we would go in, my company would go in at 2 a.m. We would back it all up, preserve it, and have them ready to be starting again at 7 a.m. in the morning.
And what was your big sort of, like, when you think about your big break over 30 years, what was that break and who gave it to you?
So my big break was for Sullivan Cromwell, involved in a large case. It was the PMP Barabbas case, largest settlement at the time. And obviously, it's been eclipsed by many evolutions at this point. But at the time, it was the largest verdict. And the funny part of the biggest break that I had there was I was the expert. The client turned around. we're walking into the closing. And he turned around, he's like, I need a snow globe. And I'm the guy from Miami. We're in district court in Miami. And I'm like, I'll get you a snow globe. I'll make it happen. So I knew which store to go to that I could go knock on the door and the guy would answer and I could get a snow globe. And so I went and bought him 3 different snow globes, went back. He wound up not using it in the trial, but remembered me forever. And the amount of work and things that happened from getting a snow globe for the lawyer for his closing arguments was priceless.
So what's the real story of that? Because that story is so true today. It's willing to go to any lengths. It's like nothing is above you or below you. It's figure it out. I mean, I call this an industry of, everyone is a senior vice president of FIO. Figure it out. And if you can, you'll continue to move forward and just raise your hand and go like, I got it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what it is for me. It's going out with my client and just finding the solution. Being a partner with them, not a vendor or a service for them, but being a partner with them. How do I find the solution that actually meets your needs? Because a lot of times the client comes to you, the lawyer says, hey, I need this. Well, yeah, but that's not really the thing that you need. What you really need is this, because that'll get you to here, but you really need this.
Yeah.
And so you have to figure it out. You have to sit down and you have to problem solve all of that. How do I creatively, defensively solve the problem, the need? So I've got to, you got to go in, you got to partner with them. You got to really understand the need, and then you can deliver the solution that actually fits. Because so often they have no idea.
That's the power, I think, providing real leadership to the client. I grew up in the staffing and recruiting business, and clients would come to me and they say they want the following 5 things in a candidate. And I'd say, like, I know that that's what you want, but what you really need are these 2 plus these 2 that you don't quite see. Trust me, I'll show you what you want, but let me show you what I think. Yeah. And we would build a relationship that way. You've got to say no to a client to provide leadership to a client sometimes. You've been at this for a long time, and you've also built a following of sorts. And I know one of the ways that you keep your posse close is you're a big cigar aficionado. How did that get started, and what do you do with that now?
Well, so I grew up in Miami, and everybody I hung out with, they smoked cigars, so I smoked cigars.
Little Havana, here we come.
That's it. I used to always run down to Little Havana. My friend's dad always had the Partagas P2s, and so that's what I always smoked, and that's my best cigar is a Partagas P2 because it's got that memory and that heritage. And it's the same way. So now,
I just want to let you know that I feel that way about Pop-Tarts and Fruit Loops. There's a memory to that that's like.
I agree with you. It is kind of like that because you have those things that have the nostalgia, but it's not so much just the nostalgia. It's the memories I make while I'm doing it.
100%.
And the friends that I make while I'm doing it. And so that's my thing. I have cigar events at all of the conferences and everything that we go to with the partners and the clients that I need to have, that good, tight relationship with, because we can sit there and smoke a cigar for an hour and talk off the cuff and, really figure out, hey, what is it you really need? How do I really solve your problem? What are you really looking for? And get that insight, have that conversation, because it's a friendship. It's a bond over that cigar. It's not a, hey, I'm your, client and, service me. It's like we're just friends. We're sitting there. We're having the cigar. We have our little whiskey, and it just seems to work out like magic for me.
The world does stop for 45 minutes when you're smoking a cigar.
It does. Everything else stops. It shuts off all the noise. You just can sit there. I'm in whatever conversation we're in, and away we go.
Ben, tell me a little bit about your role, though, as president of forensics. Is it president of forensics at Haystack? Is that the role?
That is correct, yeah. So I'm the CISO, so I run and own all the security, but my primary role, my background is being president of forensics, building out a forensic practice.
Run me through, what is the typical day? What is your typical day as the CISO at Haystack? What's a typical day? You get up at what time in the morning? Just kind of walk us through a typical day.
Yeah, so I'm up. I'm an early bird. I'm up at 7 a.m., so I'm not a Rob early bird, but I'm an early bird.
You're talking about Rob Robinson. I know.
Rob Robinson, yes. And, but I'm up early.
He's a military former helicopter pilot, early bird. It's different.
Yeah, and so I'm former military. I'm a disabled vet. And so that's what I do. I have the same kind of mentality, and it's just I'm up. I start firing away, so usually first thing in the morning is, hey, what's the strategy for this week, this month, this day, whatever it may be. And then, you get past the first couple hours, then it's okay. Now I've got to catch up on all the client emails, all the things that are going on. How do I solve the problems for my clients? And then, the middle of the day is generally a bunch of client calls, figuring things out. And then it's a checking in with the SOC, what's going on in our network, what activities do we have to be concerned about, and, what actions or reactions or preventative things do we need to address. The certifications, obviously we're very certification focused, and we just opened a new forensics lab in Chicago, so that's been a lot of the time and effort over the last 6 months, a year.
How many resources do you have now in Chicago?
So we have 7 people in Chicago, and growing.
Do you travel to Chicago very often?
So I go there pretty frequently.
That?
Yeah, so I have a manager, director of the lab, Renee Navoa, takes care of making sure the lab's spot on and everything's good. We have a great local crew in the Chicago office. They're really we move people from other areas in the company that move to Chicago to be there and do that. So it's running really well, and it's a great lab. We have really a purpose-built space for forensics with the full evidence vault and all of the security requirements so that we can get all the certifications and meet all our certification requirements. So it's really an amazing place. If you're ever in Chicago, happy to take you through.
I would love to see that.
It's a great tour.
Yeah. And how did you spec your lab out in Chicago?
Back in the 90s, how I got into all this, I was building data centers and started building large data centers. So I knew, what you have to do, how you build things to be secure and have that all structured and formatted so that everything has a flow. There's an actual workflow. Evidence comes in, it goes into a shipping and receiving area, it goes into the vault, it goes into the data intake, it goes into the forensics lab. It's like a circular pattern in the natural flow of things. So it just all makes sense.
What's the biggest challenge you see coming down the pipe, right? So we're all focused on what's now, right? Whether it's Gen AI or what have you with next gen technology and the volume and the variety and the velocity of data, which I've said before. But what do you see as the big challenge that maybe other people aren't? It's not quite in their vision yet. It's down the road a little bit. What's coming towards us that you think about on a regular basis?
Yeah. So for me, on a daily basis, it's first of all mobile devices. 5 years ago, even people had phones. Mm-hmm. You might be interested in a couple of text messages for a matter off of the device, and that was it. A lot of times that legal teams didn't even really think about the mobile devices. Today, business 95% of the business is occurring on that mobile device. That brings this immense amount of challenges that nobody's they're starting to get, mm-hmm. but it's 3 years down the road still. It's 5 years down the road. The privacy concerns, the security concerns of that mobile device and your information, because it's got your banking, it's got your health. You're living your life on those devices now. People are doing everything through the mobile device. Well, you're
commingling your data also, your personal and your professional.
Right. And so now you've got personal and you got professional, and all of that's intermixed. And then you also have your health and your banking, your financial stuff. And so how do you separate all of that? How do you, cell phones, you always had to be like, hey, I'm going to go, I have to collect the whole device. And in today's world, you just can't do that because everything lives on that device. And I can't go to a custodian in a matter and be like, hey, Mr. CEO of company, I need to capture your device. I want, your wife's information, your kids' information that's on there, the photos of your kids and your wife on vacation in Bimini, and all of that stuff, because it's all commingled. And so you've got to get much more focused, and you've got to take some real efforts to, really identify the information you need and identify the information you don't need and that you don't want, because you got your privilege as well is another big area when you start talking about executive teams and things of that area.
As we start thinking about the future, take me again a little bit further down the road here. So you've got a multi-dimensional, data footprint now on your mobile device. It's not black and white data. It's not personal and professional. It's also behavioral.
Correct.
So you can draw a lot of what would you call them? Instances. For instances, what's that called? That when you connect those dots in behavioral.
Yeah. So you can get a lot of inferences about what's going on with a device. So we had a case that we just recently worked where a departing employee left a company, took a new job, even though he had a non-compete and all of that, and was, said, things weren't working out at the old company. I didn't get the new job until, a month after I left the old job. There was no data transfer or anything. But through the analysis of this device, that's really interesting, because I can see that you walked down Broadway and all of these internet signals popped on your device, and I have a full timeline, and you spent 8 hours at new company's office 2 months before you left. Explain that to me. So,
all on the mobile device.
All on the mobile device.
Yeah.
So, and then it was, I went into your GPS, and now I can see not only did you, drive and park in the parking lot for that building, you left and went to lunch with somebody and then went back to that building, and then you left and went to the gym and went back to that building. So certainly there's a reason that you're going to the building owned by this new company 3 times and spent pretty much the whole day there. Explain that to me in court. And this was in a FINRA arbitration matter, so there wasn't discovery per se.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, guys testifying, I didn't get the new job till, and extremely interesting, because, we happen to take a look at your device.
Oh, that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And he gave you the rights to that.
Yep, he did. He didn't have, so the device was the old company's device. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes. I won't get into it. It starts identifying things, but...
you give away your rights when you take a company.
Right, it was a company device, and so he gave away those rights, but he was living his life off that device. So we were able to put together a very, very complete picture that he had clearly stolen, information from the old company, took it to the new company, lied about taking a job well before and planning, and he actually expensed the trip to the old company, which is great because he was client meetings. Well, that's very interesting because, you were here in the gym and that's it for 3 days. So
when you find that, like, what's that? Is it just like what goes through your mind? Gotcha. Like, what's the catchphrase?
Exactly. It's the gotcha. I got the smoking gun. I now know what you did.
Fantastic. Let's close on what we're smoking tonight, John. Tease the audience.
Tease the audience. All right. So
if you're a cigar smoker out there, and I know that's a very limited section, slice of our audience out there, but if you are, tease them just a little bit about like what you carry with you on the road.
All right. So tonight's specialties are we have the standard is the Monte Cristo No. 2 Epicure.
Of course.
It's beautiful, fantastic, middle of the road cigar. Just amazing. But the specialty tonight is a Por Laranja Lancero from Havana, but it's a Seville, Spain only release. So you can only buy them in Seville, Spain. It was only like 200 boxes made, and it's a 96 rated Lancero. It is just beautiful.
So if you're a cigar lounge person, right, you'll know that there are certain releases that are only released to Europe. Right, they don't stay in Cuba. Of course, they never come to the United States.
Never.
They're only available, sometimes only available in London at a Dunhill shop or a Davidoff shop or a Havana shop, right? Or Spain is also one of those countries that gets very select distribution. So if you're interested in cigars, John Wilson from Haystack is the man you want to connect with on LinkedIn. If you're down in Florida and you're Boca Raton and you want a good cigar, just DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to smoke a cigar with anyone, anytime. So, John, thanks so much for taking some time out and sharing your thoughts. And congratulations on your award here at Legal Week.
Thank you very much. It's been great to see you again, and great talking with you.
I'll see you tonight.
And we'll see you tonight.